for that, to start signaling intent? Like, is that something that can get lobbied for as like an actual CIP fund to implement that effort? Because I know the one time I went before the budget committee, that's all I wanted. What funds is coming from? And the answer was no, none.
I would advocate for that.
Yeah.
Lizzie agrees. I know.
Perfect. I think we should state that intent, that it becomes its own fund.
Into this particular recommendation or as a separate recommendation for different?
Yeah, maybe a separate sub-goal.
Separate?
So that might be easy to check off.
Yeah, because that would fit into the work plan,
Yeah.
the establishment of that fund.
Yeah, because we talk about, that, hey, develop the work plan, work to actually, implement this, right under that, under resiliency, it's, develop, formalize the policy for integrating climate resilience capital improvement plan, like all this stuff. We keep dancing around the issue of, well, you need to have dollars for that purpose, and I think that's the intent that's missing. And then my only other comment was in resiliency, one of the sub-goals says consider adopting RSA, and you have a very specific one listed. What is that RSA? Do you know? Because it's super specific, so I figured you would.
I put a little bit in on, I think it's the last page of the chapter. There's a call-out box with a little bit of information about those two RSAs. So 79E, the town has adopted. 79E4A is a little bit separate, and it allows the town to establish a coastal resilience incentive zone, which can do a couple things. One of them grants tax relief for resilience measures, and it also allows like a specific TIF or a capital reserve fund for those types of projects that the municipality would take on. And then the other piece is 3653-A is basically allows the town with a regional planning commission and potentially other municipalities as well to create like a cooperative agreement to help plan for sea level rise and to establish like a fund for potentially like more regional, larger projects. So just a couple of like the different tools that are available.
Do you think the town would have any interest in establishing a TIF for this? Not to put you guys on the spot, but just very specific, I guess, outcome here.
Potentially, we already have one for Mills area up North Main Street, and I imagine we want to maybe consider protecting those assets, so it might be something worth exploring. And that's
It's one of the options. You're not,
so it's good language to use.
Yeah. Okay.
like look into it more. And it's not the 79E4A is it doesn't you're not like restricted to a TIF in terms of the funding mechanism. It's just one of the options. I don't think it hurts to have things like that in your plan unless you already know that the community is not supportive of it or it's just not feasible or realistic for some reason, because then it gives you the push to look into it a little bit more.
Yeah. Does something like that ultimately make it important to adopt a TIF?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll go for the voters.
Gotcha.
The adopted zone, the 79E, and then does it work like traditionally includes like 79E?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so there's like a group, so after if it's adopted, the 79E region, the TIF area, then each applicant has to go before town council to get, enter into agreement.
Okay.
So that's how it works. So the town allows for it to happen, and then each property owner comes before the council to request relief, and there's a contract basically.
I'm good, Rob. Do you
Yeah,
have anything?
no, it was good explanation of some of the things I was unsure of, so that was good.
Quick update, while you're perusing the other recommendations, the request for, I think it's an RFP, went out today from Stratford Regional Planning Commission to get a consultant to put together like the scoping for the 5 priority projects that were identified kind of before the work on the chapter really started. So I think the response is due late March. So we'll have like more of an update at that point on what sort of has come in from the consultants who might be interested in providing that sort of preliminary scoping for 5 of these projects. So once we have a little bit more information on that, that will guide what's in the implementation table for those specific items as well. They're already kind of kicked off. I don't know if you want to add anything to that or not, but.
I appreciate the update. Yeah, I mean, overall, I guess to kind of circle back on the goals and recommendations, I guess from just an overall content standpoint, I thought they were fine. I thought they read really well. I think they're good for what is the primary goal versus, how are some of the individual actions that you can take to achieve that. So I think from like a high level standpoint, again, just personally, I wouldn't have a whole lot of change to it.
Okay. I think that we are tasked with filling out the implementation table maybe at the next meeting. We can dig into it more. My understanding is that's how it's working at the committee level. We'll be filling it out sort of during the meeting. So I could bring some notes, but I think you'll have maybe a little bit better idea, at least of some of your priorities. We've kind of gone over those, but maybe some time frames, and I will bring some ideas for funding sources for these different items. But just keep that kind of in the back of your mind. We can certainly sort of start on that now, if you'd like to.
What is the implementation sheet again? Like,
This is the implementation table. I'll call it the implementation table. It's going to be
Okay.
associated
All
with
right.
this chapter, but there is going to be a full implementation chapter as well, that we won't be responsible for handling. I think it's going to consolidate some of the implementation items from across the whole plan. But we are responsible for this table, and the way that the committees are doing it is that we're going to kind of fill it out at the subcommittee meetings.
okay.
So we can all come with notes and ideas. We will probably have to go kind of line by line through it,
Okay.
and hopefully that won't be too painful.
Yeah, I mean, I would, sight unseen, I'd probably say we should defer to next, just because we don't
Yeah.
even have an active quorum.
Right.
I think can try to encourage people to take a look at it, maybe not fill out every line, but identify what they view as kind of priorities or some of the short-term versus longer-term goals.
Yeah, priorities, and then maybe for the sub-goals that you envision the Riverfront Advisory Committee being the lead agency, definitely flag that
Yeah.
And then, we'll go from there.
Can you give some guidance as to what sort of timeframes that we should be looking at? Like less than 2 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10?
Again, that's a 1 to 10, what's long-term, what's short-term.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can go more than 10, it's fine.
Mhm.
But typically it's 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'd do 1 to 15. And then I think we have to discuss how we actually want to mark it up. Is it short, long term? You know, instead of giving it a year, you know, is it more like short term, medium term, long term?
Divide it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go. Maybe make 2 passes. One just give it a numeric year,
Mhm.
say how many years, and then after that, just give it short term, long term.
Okay.
I think similarly for the magnitude of cost, we'll assume this means we're just putting it like an actual $1 sign versus 4.
Correct.
But we'll kind of see how things fall out with respect to the low cost or like the minimal cost kind of volunteer activities versus the higher cost. And if necessary, we can like actually assign a cost range to those dollar signs as well. So like low cost might be up to $2,000 or something like that.
I'm assuming these columns are to kind of create overall consistency, but other than potentially that RSA one that we just discussed, I don't think any of these would necessitate a change in zoning. So can we just kind of overlook that column, figure that's probably a lot more applicable for housing or transportation or some of those other ones?
I think so, yeah.
Or just put in
Yeah.
non-applicable, NA?
Really, all of them may be not applicable, except for specifically adapting the RSA that would allow a TIF district.
Yeah. I'll go through and look again at that. I don't think we have any, if we had something related to like stormwater regulations, which I don't know if we do, then, that could be a zoning change. But so I'll look at that and I'll flag anything that comes up, but I don't think that there are going to be many.
So we might have it in the final implementation guide, just because it's going to span all aspects, chapters,
Yeah.
so I think just put a dash in there. Not applicable. Small minus sign. Wherever else.
So yeah, I guess using primarily the next meeting to discuss the columns to the right in the implementation seems to make a lot of sense. What about the overall architecture between then and there? Were you planning on going to the subcommittee next Wednesday?
Yep.
Kind of give an overview.
Yep. Yeah, so I'll make the updates that we talked about in the next day or so, and then send them the updated draft 3. And I can give an overview. I think presentation we talked of PowerPoint presentation of sort of the key pieces of the chapter. And I'm not sure if we're getting into recommendations with them, but they'll be available, I guess.
Yeah, I think, this is the recommendations, and then they can make their comments. So I think the idea is presentation, give them time to digest it, and then at the following meeting, if there's any changes, they can make them there, and then, so the idea would be presentation, and then next meeting, they have a month to look it over, so for the April meeting, and if they want to make any changes, they will, and then at that point, it's ready to go.
Okay. Just trying to look up. So second Wednesday in April would be the 9th. So that would be the meeting. Okay.
So they're gonna see it at March meeting, and then once, and then, yeah, if they're gonna make any changes at the April meeting.
Okay.
So then do you think our meeting needs to be like on April 7th ahead of time?
It's kind of what I'm wondering, or if it's after.
I think my recommendation would be, we can maybe do all this in email.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any, further, I mean, I think it's a really good spot right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just maybe just some minor details, maybe minor things that you want. I think that can be achieved through direct messaging between Liz, myself, to make the changes, and then you're gonna see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I can do is compile, if anyone, everything, and I can send it to all of you, so it's the quorum thing. So
Mhm.
basically, you send the recommendations to us, we synthesize it, make changes, say, here's the changes that we did, and it just summarizes that.
Mhm.
That makes sense. And then everyone will be on the same page at that point. If there's
Okay.
major objections, then we can address it,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, what do you think is helpful, Liz? Do you want to go through this prior to that master plan subcommittee meeting on the 9th? Or do you think the week after is a better time? Like, does this inform the comment discussion at the master plan committee or vice versa?
It could actually be beneficial to have it afterwards, because they can get their recommendations, and then, I don't know.
I see it either way, so I mean, I
I
guess.
just don't want this to keep on going
Mhm.
too,
I don't
so.
know.
Can you meet on the 7th?
I think so. I think that's kind of the debate, because then if we kind of had the, final say over what we thought we had, and then the committee master plan folks talked about,
Yeah.
ultimately what they want to see out of it and final recommendation, then that would be it. We could kind of be done giving you input at the town level come April 9th. I think I could do either. I'm not sure what yours looks like that day.
Either the 7th or the 14th, you mean?
Yeah.
I could do either as well. But
Do you want to see if we could get a quorum for either of those nights and then see if that is a factor to consider?
Yeah, I'll send an email to coordinate that, just because if one date is going to draw a similar issue. I mean, I think in all the years we met, this is only the second time we haven't drawn one, so it's not super common, but would want to make sure that we could give a formal, vote or assent at that time.
mhm.
Do we need to ask the master plan subcommittee if they have preference, or is it really up to the,
Yeah, I think what we can do is see where we are with them on next meeting and say, see how much input there is. Then I think we can meet on the 7th, hopefully. Because I don't think they'll make their recommendation, honestly, because it's a really first time looking at
The
it.
first
It's
time
gonna
most
take
of
a
them will
month.
see it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think ideally what we want is for Riverfront to meet on the 7th, and then we'll meet at our regular scheduled meeting for the master plan, the second Wednesday, and be done at that point.
Okay.
I think that's just how it's gonna work right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, so we'll email folks with the intent of meeting for this committee, the next meeting being April 7th. Unless for some reason we couldn't get a quorum on that date, in which case it would be the 14th. Okay.
If it were that case, I would just say, I'd make sure that the master plan subcommittee is comfortable with moving everything forward after you had one more crack at it on the 14th.
Yeah.
Instead of like going back to them again after you.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I think, no later than the 14th.
Yeah,
Because
hopefully,
we
hopefully that doesn't
COVID.
happen, but
Yeah,
we can deal with it when we get there.
okay. All right, that sounds
Great.
fine. We'll ask people about the 7th, just trying to lock that date in for the next meeting at this level. And we'll kind of pass on the general guidance here about, hey, give this a look over the next month about, implementation, prioritization, short, medium, long term. And what we think, maybe this committee is taking the lead on versus what's getting outsourced to some other committee or department. Anything else you need from us?
This is a pretty big ask, so I think yeah, let's focus on just bring some notes. I'll kind of fill it out also and have some notes, and then we'll just go line by line, and inevitably there'll be some discussion,
Yep.
as there always is.
Yep.
on these things.
Yeah.
And then while you're doing that, if you have any other comments on the specific sub goals, we can kind of address those too.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well,
Thanks
thank
again for
you.
your time.
Thanks.
Much appreciated. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for today's agenda. Again, the intent will be for the next meeting to be Monday, April 7th. We'll keep in touch with the town on that in case it gets moved to the 14th, but the intent will be Monday, April 7th. Anything else?
Yeah. That's it.
Don't even need to make a motion.
Right.
It's not a
That's
meeting.
it.
All right, well,
Meeting's